Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Today, we are going to be talking about streamlining delivery with a connected EBR, specifically for the pharma manufacturing industry. So before we get started, let's cover a few quick housekeeping items. First, if you need any assistance throughout the broadcast, there is a chat function at the bottom of your screen. Feel free to shoot us a message there and we can work to resolve any issue you might experience. There's also a Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. Use that to ask questions throughout the webinar, and we will have a dedicated Q&A session at the end where we will get to those questions. So I'm Nicole Sherman. I'm a Senior Product Marketing Manager with MasterControl, focused on our data, advanced analytics, and artificial intelligence product offerings.
Hello, everybody. I am Caitlin Minton-Smith, and I am the Senior Product Marketing Manager over our manufacturing and logbooks offerings.
Great. So quick agenda here for what we'll cover, again, related to that topic of streamlining with a connected EBR. So that's focused kind of in the context of digital maturity that we'll be talking about. So we'll start with some trends we're seeing in the industry, trends along with some challenges many of you may be facing today. Second, we will take a look at the mindset to prioritize digital transformation and maturity among the pharma manufacturing industry. And then finally, we will look at approaches to digital quality and manufacturing and the big impact that can ultimately have on your organization. So to start, we will dive into both external and internal factors and trends impacting the industry today. You likely have some form of this goal for your organization to efficiently and safely deliver products to patients. You know, it's a great goal. It gets us all excited and energized to go to work, right? But it's often easier said than done. Market trends often make it difficult to consistently achieve this goal. There are many external factors that have a significant impact on your business and delivering to patients. So we are going to look at a few of those first, starting with the economy. No surprise that economic uncertainty continues to be a headline in 2024, and we expect that to continue. There are ongoing global conflicts, upcoming presidential election in the United States really doesn't seem to make that uncertainty die down at all. So we continue to expect that pressure on the industry, along with increased competition and, an ongoing need to reduce production costs for your manufacturing. So there's a lot of these economic factors ultimately pressuring you to work smarter, work faster, and work cheaper. And in addition to working smarter, cheaper, and faster, you have to be pretty perfect, right? It's worth noting that the regulatory environment really leaves no room for error. Errors with compliance can be really costly, both from that time to deliver to patients' perspective and from a financial perspective. So there's that question, that balance of how can you meet the needs of global regulatory agencies and meet that goal of efficiently delivering to patients. So that theme that we'll continue to touch on throughout of digital maturity, having the right digital systems in place for your processes is one critical piece in both maintaining compliance and that speed to delivery. The next external factor that we thought was worth noting were just increasing patient expectations. We've seen that, since COVID, there's been an increased focus on healthcare, health outcomes from patients, and just an increased demand, increased expectation, from this group. And we want to deliver the best health outcomes possible. So that means really being able to stay competitive, have a competitive edge to be able to meet and hopefully exceed those patient expectations. And then the fourth, but definitely not final factor, right? There's many factors contributing to this, is technology. So you can't measure what you can't see, right? And putting technology in place is a stepping stone into data. And if you were on paper previously, that's really the first taste of true data capture, being able to aggregate that into something meaningful. And then beyond that, it's leveraging advanced technologies, systems like a QMS or an MES or an EBR to take that data a step further and be able to make more informed decisions from it is really critical. And again, being able to mature digitally and find those process efficiencies. It's also worth noting on that topic of data and technology that the recent proliferation of generative AI over the past 18 months or so has really opened up possibility across the product lifecycle. So for the pharma industry, maybe the past 2 to 5 years, we've seen AI and advanced analytics be a great use case in the drug discovery phase of the product lifecycle. And now we're seeing just endless opportunities throughout the product lifecycle. So in your quality management, your event management, in your manufacturing processes and production, being able to integrate these technologies there and work smarter and see that the benefits of that automation are becoming more and more important to pharma organizations. We're definitely seeing in the market more evaluation of AI technologies and more of an expectation that is a part of systems that organizations are evaluating. And kind of in conjunction with that, they're not only looking for or expecting embedded AI, but also these flexible, configurable software solutions that are able to be customized to meet your business case, your processes and needs, and not so rigid that you have to change how you operate to fit within a system. So I think that flexibility and more of that AI integration and embedded technology are going to be just more and more table stakes for the industry to optimize processes. So these 4 factors, again, like I mentioned, definitely not all of the external factors that are putting pressure on the business, but a few key ones we wanted to point out that can really impact where you're making investments in software, in your people, in resources. And in addition to these, there are a number of internal factors as well impacting that goal of delivery and your ability to mature digitally. So I'll pass it to Caitlin to take you through those.
Thanks, Nicole. So MasterControl conducted research with a group of pharmaceutical companies recently, and the goal of this research was to identify some of these internal factors or challenges that really impact manufacturing operations. So the first factor that we are going to touch on is the inefficiencies that are born from silos within an organization. And these silos can exist between different areas of production, for example, or between entirely different departments. And what this results in is really a lack of shared workflows, shared insights, and shared visibility, and these silos can increase the opportunity for error, as often the right hand doesn't really know what the left hand is doing, and are a leading factor in inefficient operations. So when you have these silos, when you have these areas that are so disconnected, it really impacts how you conduct your business and the efficacy of your business. By improving the connectivity between these systems or between departments as a whole, You can start to improve processes. You can start to really extend the reach of quality beyond just maybe a department and throughout your organization. And you can start to really increase the operational efficiency of what you're doing. The second challenge that was cited in the research was the negative impact of manual processes and how they can influence a company's ability to really bring therapeutics to the market. 70% of your peers noted that manual processes contributed to issues in manufacturing. And when you start to think about the hundreds or thousands of data entry points involved in a single batch, it's pretty easy to see how a manual process, a fully manual process, could lead to human error and data integrity issues, which can result in things like costly scrap or even something more serious like a 483 warning letter. So when you start to really move away from those manual processes, you start to remove the opportunity for error, which impacts your throughput. It can impact and improve the quality of your product. And because you have fewer issues during production, you can really expedite that review and release. As Nicole mentioned, you can't measure what you can't see. The third internal factor that we heard from respondents is really an example of this. How can you improve your operations if you don't have visibility into your production bottlenecks or where you have slowdowns or maybe where you're having a lot of inefficiencies? So whether it's data about how your production line is operating or data about how your therapeutic might be impacting the market, a manufacturing environment without data is almost impossible to improve and to optimize. According to this primary research, over 50% of respondents noted that missing or unusable data really created a lot of issues in their organization and really impeded them from being able to understand what was happening inside of their organization. Nicole said this, and I just want to reiterate it, is that really the first step to unlocking your data is moving from these manual or paper-based processes into a digital environment. That enables not only the use of those advanced technologies and tools and predictive analytics, but it also kind of helps to speed issue resolution, helps to speed production, and really helps you to help patients more quickly than you can if you are kind of mired in a paper environment. The three factors that we just reviewed lead to the fourth challenge, which is really the kryptonite of any pharma company, and that's compliance issues. Without safety and compliance, pharma providers are really unable to release their therapeutics into the market. As we talked about earlier, most companies have some version of the same goal: to safely and efficiently deliver products to patients. And companies just like yours are doing really amazing, groundbreaking things in medicine, but are still relying on outdated and disconnected processes. We will talk a little bit more about some of the specifics later, but one reason many pharma companies are stuck is that it's hard to find the right balance. You need a system that is high quality. However, you must also ensure you are using resources such as time and money effectively. Safety is paramount, but you also need the ability to scale and accelerate production to meet demand. You need the control of a locked system with the flexibility to deliver to a variety of clients and patients. And compliance must remain top of mind, but it cannot get in the way of innovation. It can be pretty hard to navigate, but it's not impossible. To learn a little bit more about the industry mindset and how your peers are solving these trade-offs with digital solutions, I'm going to hand it back over to Nicole.
Great. And yes, we will move on to, like Caitlin said, the mindset we're seeing around prioritization of digital maturity. And we're going to dig a bit more into that primary research Caitlin mentioned that we've recently conducted. So to start, we heard that, despite that host of challenges that are faced, a majority of the pharma manufacturing respondents we spoke to said that they prioritize digitalization, and a majority also have a digital transformation plan in place. So this seems like really positive momentum. We wanted to dig a little bit more into what that actually means to these organizations, to your peers. So we shared a maturity model that we developed with our group of respondents and had them identify where their organization sits today in terms of digital maturity. So I'll go through this model and just outline kind of these 4 different tiers that we've categorized. Starting on the left, kind of with the lowest tier there being manual. So that would be, as we've kind of talked about, all or mostly paper-based, very manual systems and processes in place. Very little digitalization, if any at all. Moving up a tier is digital. So that would be some level of processes digitized, maybe some basic automation, but also a recognition of gaps that exist in their manufacturing operations today. Third, our next tier is connected. So we categorize that as, every line is digitized across their operation. They've got IoT, more connected equipment, connected assets, and more of a multi-site sync. Data sites, the data is talking to each other, right? And then finally, that North Star is our 4th tier of intelligent. So think of that as, real-time data streaming, fully integrated processes, continuous, autonomous process optimization, dynamic planning, full integration, smart systems in place. So those are our 4 tiers. Hopefully, as I've gone through those, maybe you're thinking about where your organization fits or where you think the industry is at today. So what we saw was most commonly organizations are placing themselves in the 2nd tier of digital. So recognizing that, yes, there is some level of digitization, maybe on a few lines or a few sites, but recognizing that room for improvement, right? There are gaps, opportunities to scale and to, further move up in digital maturity. Only a minority would consider themselves connected, and probably not surprisingly, only very few are intelligent today. The nice thing we see is that everyone is seeking to move up, right? To make those incremental changes. No one's going from manual to intelligent. It's those incremental changes that they can implement to mature digitally and reap those benefits of efficiencies, error reduction, etc. So a core piece for that group to move from digital to connected and ultimately intelligent means true integration between your core system. So particularly between manufacturing and perhaps your EBR and your counterparts and quality and your QMS. Those systems really need to be talking to each other, to be connected and integrated, to really achieve those goals of being connected. But what we saw right now is that only about half of respondents from our research have their EBR and QMS integrated today. And actually only 9% have an EBR at all facilities. So that just kind of brings to life that description of digital where it was some level of digitalization, but not all. So very few are really connected beyond maybe a few facilities. So I think that, again, this just demonstrates the value of something like a flexible, configurable software platform that helps organizations move from a state of disconnected or siloed to more integrated. And that allows you to easily configure line by line, right? Again, as I mentioned, that incremental scaling to easily build connected processes. Again, from that research, we saw there's plenty of motivation, right? Everyone recognizes what maturing digitally could do for their organizations. I won't talk through all of these, but competitive advantage was a standout motivator to move up to the next tier of digital maturity. And that just goes back to some of those factors we talked about earlier. If the digital maturity increases, we can overcome some of those challenges, some of those key barriers around cost, slowing down manufacturing, and more. And respondents from that research really honed in on some key benefits as well if they were, again, to be able to reach that connected or intelligent tier of maturity. A few of these just kind of resonate with what we've spoken about. So real-time access to operational data and insight. We know that's such a barrier now is a lack of data visibility. So they recognize that as a huge benefit, along with the improved efficiencies and error reduction. So again, these and more can have a huge impact on that goal of seamless delivery to patients. And it, again, really starts with those incremental efforts to implement digital systems. So a lot of, positive momentum, positive mindset we see through the industry, but there is a prevailing perception that implementing a digital system like an EBR is too difficult. And it's worth acknowledging that it's a significant change, right, to go from paper to a digital system. So that it'll have its challenges, right, unique to each organization who implements. There's bound to be some hiccups. And we did hear from our respondents that, disruption to their day-to-day business is a big barrier for, implementing a system. It takes too much time. It costs too much to implement. Are kind of the key mindsets we're seeing that could be stopping companies from, making that investment. And I do think organizations will experience growing pains with implementing a system, but it doesn't have to be impossible. It can be manageable, and you think you can overcome those barriers with the right partner. And I'm going to pass it back to Caitlin to discuss that.
So really, the ultimate question is how you can get from where you are today to where you want to be in the future. So as we've seen from the research, there is a market demand for a connected digital approach, but it can feel a little bit overwhelming to start, and we absolutely acknowledge that. One way that our clients have found success is that incremental approach that Nicole has been talking about. So it's pretty obvious, but breaking things down into smaller components can make them more digestible. So first, you start small. Perhaps you look at, let's say, your logbooks, and you say, wow, these paper logbooks are really weighing me down. And you say, that's where I'm going to start. We always like to remind clients that you don't need to boil the ocean. You can really find the things that you can change today or that you can change in short term, and those can have really big outsized impacts. The second thing we always tell clients is to set goals across departments. So part of moving to a digital system is not only having that data, but also having that visibility into what is going on throughout your production process. So you want to set these goals across departments. You want to share these wins. You want to make sure that vision remains aligned. And we see that when clients do that, they have a lot of success. And finally, and most importantly, in our opinion, is really selecting the right partner. You want a partner that deeply understands your business. You want a partner who has worked with companies in situations like yours before. And if you can find a partner like that, the transition becomes quite a bit more goes quite a bit more smoothly. I think that this is where some people will get caught up on those barriers, is they find partners where products maybe look good, but how the partner approaches this transition is really challenging for the client and requires the client to change a lot about themselves and about their processes, rather than having a flexible system that can really conform to what the client needs. To bring this incremental approach to life, I wanted to focus on one of our customers, a global pharma manufacturer based out of Asia. So the original need from this company was to move away from paper in their QMS. That was their greatest area of need. However, their needs evolved as their organization really got comfortable with paperless or digital solutions. Initially, they went from a fully paper-based QMS to simply a paperless QMS. And then as the technology evolved and as their comfort with the systems evolved, they moved to a cloud-based QMS. And this enabled them to have a really fully integrated global quality management strategy that really started to benefit their business. So while their core goal stayed the same, which was remove paper, they continued to mature inside of their digital transformation. I think that this is a really good example of how digital transformation or embracing kind of digital technology isn't always a one and done. It can evolve over time. So when you start to think about your own digital transformation, it's really nice to think about, or a good place to start is kind of, what is your need? You think about the areas where those small changes can potentially make big impacts. The next thing that this client did, which is, as I said, something we always tell clients, is you can start small. It can be very overwhelming to move to a digital ecosystem. And remember that small is relative for every company. A very large global company, their small is going to feel very, very different than a single site startup. Their primary need was always to remove paper from their QMS, and the desire to remove paper from their system stayed consistent. However, they found new areas that needed attention. So one way that they started small is they realized that paper batch records were holding back their clinical development. So they decided to expand their engagement with MasterControl and pilot our electronic batch record solution on one line at one site. And this gave them the time to understand the software and where it would have the most impact in their overall organization. After a successful initial pilot, they expanded to additional lines at the same site. And once they felt really comfortable, they ended up rolling out that EBR to the entire site, and then started thinking about, okay, we have a lot of sites across the globe. Which facility would be the best to digitize next? Where can we get the most benefit? This is an approach that we've seen a lot of our customers use when moving from paper to digital batch records. Not only can they scale as they become more comfortable with the system, but they can also scale as their business scales, and they can really do it on the timeline that makes the most sense for them. For this particular company, it was really important to adhere to their success metrics, and to really meet their goals. They understood their goals really deeply. They understood what they were trying to achieve. And while their initial measure of success was just to remove paper from quality, success really evolved. Again, I think I've already said this 3 times right now, is that digital transformation is an evolution. It's not a one and done. It's not something that you can say, I'm going to do this in the next 365 days, and then I'll be done with my digital transformation. New opportunities are always going to come up. New technologies are always going to come up. There are always going to be improvements to how you run your business. So for these folks, for this company rather, really the evolution of success for them was not just, we don't want paper in our system. It started to become, okay, well, now we are paperless, or we're in the cloud. We have this data visibility. And so now we can see into our quality and manufacturing operations all over the globe. And now we want to start thinking about how we simplify our manufacturing processes and embed quality more deeply into those processes. So again, very much an evolution of what their success metrics were and how they define those. Finally, this company analyzes all of their data. And I think that they do this so that they can ensure that they're being successful with the tools that they have selected. But as a byproduct, it really forces us as one of their partners to remain super nimble and remain really agile, which is very, very exciting. Continuous improvement is really the name of the game. This is the name of the game for them. That is the name of the game for our company as well. And while needs change and success metrics evolve, the partners that you choose can remain the same if you choose the right partner. You really want a system where you can see and extract your data. You want a system that will enable you to not just see the data inside of their system, but also how this works in your larger ecosystem so that you can address issues quickly, you can pivot when needed, and you can start to really run that streamlined manufacturing operation that is fully connected, fully digital, and kind of the dream that we all have. For this company, their initial selection of MasterControl was really easy. They chose us because of our experience in quality management for pharmaceutical companies. However, when they turned their focus to digital manufacturing, they found there were a lot of options out there. So from things like paper on glass to more traditional manufacturing execution systems, they were either too expensive, too hard to scale, or were a challenge to adopt and use. They were really looking for something different. They wanted a configurable solution that was fast to implement and adopt, that was easy to scale, that was intuitive, and that it integrated with their existing tech stack. Another requirement for them was that it needed to be cost-effective for sites that were both very small and very large. So they really found what they were looking for in MasterControl's electronic batch record solution. With our EBR, they found that balance between cost and quality. They found the flexibility to configure to their specific needs, but still have a lot of those quality controls that every pharma company really needs to remain compliant. And they found a solution that didn't require expensive services engagements every time they wanted to expand a new manufacturing line or site. And they've kind of found all this while driving real results. This is not this one company. That would be pretty remarkable if it were. These are aggregated numbers, but they speak for themselves. And we see that clients see this a lot. We really see that we help eliminate those GMP errors by having those data controls and those quality controls, which leads to an improvement in right first time production. And that can also accelerate review and release and get those therapeutics out to the market faster. MasterControl is a purpose-built, connected platform that unifies your quality and manufacturing, easily scales across your organization, and supports seamless cross-functional integration and collaboration. It's clear from our research that despite internal and external challenges, pharmaceutical companies are increasingly moving toward digital solutions like MasterControl to remain competitive, improve operations, and accelerate development. And while change can be daunting, it is not impossible. As a reminder, start small, gain the cross-functional buy-in, and find the right partner. And you can also be on your way to increased digital maturity.
All right, so that wraps up our slide content. Thank you, Caitlin. And now we'd like to hear from you. Feel free to throw questions in the chat and we will take them as they come. And it looks like we have had a few questions come in as we've been talking. So we'll go through this first one. Given uncertainty in the market and how high cost for drug development is, how can I justify a costly and time-consuming software purchase? So I'll go ahead and take this one. There's definitely no denying that costs will be under a microscope for many pharma organizations this year and beyond, looking to add software platforms to their processes or to your existing tech stack. So I think to address this question, I'll focus on one key aspect that we've chatted about, but I think it's worth reemphasizing, is automation. So there can be significant cost savings realized by automating your processes. Manual calculations, manual signatures, manual data entry, training tasks, document administration, quality event reporting, software validation, the list goes on. Those are all really time-consuming tasks. They're often performed hundreds or even thousands of times across your quality management and production runs. So automating those not only saves an incredible amount of time across your organization, across departments, it also can completely eliminate that costly human error that can often slow down your release. So there's the hours saved, right? Hundreds of thousands of hours. But we've seen, these savings like this for some of our clients translate into millions of dollars saved, which I think more than outweighs the cost of that initial investment in software. So then another question here. Employees might not understand the value of digital maturity or the purpose of implementing new systems. How do we address the "if it's not broke, don't fix it" mentality we're likely to encounter? Caitlin, do you want to take that one?
Sure, why not? This is a totally valid question. And thinking about it, I want to address it in two parts. So the first is that I think it's important not to assume that just because a process isn't, quote, broken, that it can't be improved upon. And we see this happen with a lot of clients, and they do this in their paper environments, but it only gets them so far. So as I'm thinking about this and formulating this response, I'm thinking of this one customer who had optimized their paper batch records as much as possible. They had taken like 18 months to cut out as much fat as possible. However, when they moved to an EBR, actually not even before when they moved, but while they were evaluating it, they came to us and said, gosh, this solution, I think that we can actually improve our efficiency by 80% more than what we've already done, which is a pretty tall claim, right? This particular customer has a champion who is very data-driven and has really been able to track how a digital system has improved not only their resource utilization, but also their data integrity. Their throughput is, I think that they are producing 30% more with the same amount of people. And just their error reduction, everything has been really, really cool to see. So for them, I don't think that they would have ever characterized their process as broken, but they did recognize that it could continue to be improved upon. The second thing I want to address is just the reality that the world is increasingly digital. So while sticking to what's familiar might feel really comfortable in the short term, it's not going to do your business any favors in the long term. One of our sales directors tells this story a lot, and she says, we all have these, and she holds up her mobile phone. And I think that is a really good example of this. We are a society that we're all relatively literate in technology. But for a lot of operators or a lot of people in manufacturing, they go from their tablet or their phone in their private life. And when they go into work, they're still using paper, which is this interesting kind of shift backward. from their personal life to their professional one. And this really, to me, underscores that importance to finding the right partner. I think that having that partner who is not necessarily focused on replacing tech or people with technology or digital solutions. I think finding a partner who really wants to enable people to work more effectively and more efficiently is how you help your people understand not only why some of these processes are changing and why you guys are undertaking this project, but also can help them see that it's not a replacement. It's not that you're going to get booted, but that, we've optimized as much as possible on what we're doing. The future is digital, and we're going to embrace this, and we're going to help you work faster, smarter, more effectively. And really, that's going to result for the organization and that better resource utilization.
Great. Thanks, Caitlin. Yeah, love that idea of bringing our digital personal selves into work and bringing that mindset there. Our next question, let's see. So we've got one here. My company is a small/medium-sized pharma manufacturer in the personalized medicine space. I always wonder if electronic systems are effective for our highly variable manufacturing. That's a great question. I think that's the beauty of these low, no-code configurable systems we have mentioned a few times here throughout the presentation. So that idea that these systems are really scalable to bend and flex to both your current production needs and those needs as they change and evolve makes these very relevant to a very personalized medicine. So you might have, for this example, a single batch that's a single dose for a patient with something like a very configurable EBR. You can easily configure to that need and then configure to the next unique need, right? And then if you think about that as opposed to what you might think of as more of a traditional MES that feels really overwhelming for that use case, they're more suited to larger scale operations where the goal is just continuous 24-hour production, very different use cases requiring, pretty different systems that meet those needs. So for this example of personalized medicine, digitizing a line for a single dose, we have clients in this exact space actually where we've heard great success stories where they're cutting that timeline from months down to weeks, getting that patient that therapy or that drug a lot quicker than you were able to with paper. So I would say definitely, don't shy away because you feel like your need is too small or so niche. Those systems can really benefit that use case in particular. All right, we've got time for one more question, and we've got one more here that came in. Perfect. So you highlighted some real-world metrics from manufacturers that have digitized and gone fully paperless on the shop floor. On average, what would you say the time to value would be for this transition? And Caitlin, how about you take that one?
Yes, I will do my best. So I would say in short that clients typically see a return on investment in about 6 to 8 months. However, this is very much your results may vary type of situation. It's really dependent on the resources that you have for implementation and how you choose to roll out digital manufacturing. We like to say that MasterControl can run as fast as our clients. So some clients are real speed demons and they have implemented in 90 days. On average, though, with most of our clients, we're looking at an implementation around 4 months from signing to that first released production record, completed production record inside MasterControl. I think that this also kind of goes back a little bit to that idea of start small. And it's okay to go in increments. It might mean that your return is a little bit elongated. However, every process that you transition from manual into digital has almost an immediate cost savings. So even if you do move slow, every single one of those lines, every single one of those shifts that you transition over into a digital environment is going to have a level of immediate cost savings because of the quality controls, the improvements to resource utilization, the increase in right first time. So even if it's just one shift on one line, you're still going to see an impact. This really means that, you can grow in that incremental way. You can grow in a way that makes sense for your organization and not sacrifice those returns or really that time to value.
Great. Thanks so much, Caitlin. So that wraps the Q&A portion. Before we let you go, we would encourage you to continue your digital maturity journey with us and view a follow-up webinar. So we have an on-demand webinar available. Feel free to scan the QR code on screen. This webinar goes a bit deeper into digital maturity with a focus on modern EBR and how flexible electronic batch record can improve manufacturing agility, data integrity, and more. So kind of the next step here with a deeper look at electronic batch records. So like I said, feel free to scan this QR code while it's up on the screen. And this is on demand, so you're able to download and access when it is convenient for you. And with that, that's a wrap. So thank you again for taking the time to attend our webinar.